Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Power Sessions with Natasha. Yes, we're back with another video. I hope you're all doing really well. And as you can see from the title, we are talking about African military because this is something that is needed. If we're going to change Africa, if we're going to do all the things we want to do, African military and police forces, for Africa to change, we need a military. Why? Because the change and the shift we want won't happen without resistance and consequences from the outsiders, from the enemy. They need the African continent to survive. You're probably thinking, how will this military look like? What do you imagine? What would be the basis and principles? I know a lot of people have their own ideas of how this military should be and how it should be set up. This is just my 2 cents into the topic. Let's talk about the training of the military for our new African military. I think emphasis should be put on the defense of the continent. The continent needs to be protected because right now that is not happening. The army needs to focus on ability and ranking more than tribe or ethnic group affiliation because we are all one people. No tribe or ethnic group should be able to monopolize capabilities and abilities in this army. We cannot have that because why? We will be going back to conquer and divide. We need to be together. The military barracks cannot be owned by one group or a particular nation because right now our armies are country by country by country. Knowledge of the military. Special attention should be focused on the history of African warfare. We have enough warriors to look and study. We also need to study the enemy, European warfare. The defeat of African warriors by Arabs and Europeans needs to be focused on and studied. We must also look at the training of the African army in colonial times. Post-colonial army in African politics needs to be looked at. We need to, because there are weaknesses and behaviors and mentalities we need to change in that setup because they are what got us in the position we are now. Know and study your enemy because let me tell you, our enemy knows our weaknesses, our behaviors, and we've got to change all of that. We need to focus on the responsibilities of the new African army, as in science and technology and guerrilla warfare, how they go hand in hand, because these are the things we're going to need for the defense of Africa. Because right now, everybody has nuclear bombs. We need the brains of Africa to build some for us, to build technology for war for us. And as we are the great minds of inventions, we need to invent our own new ways of fighting wars that are as advanced as everyone else's and even surpass them. I don't see why we couldn't do that. Yes, we can. Because you know what? From early days, we are the fathers of civilization. It's all in here. We can do it. The African military men and women need to be viewed as professionals, as highly skilled protectors of the continent. That is how we should be viewing them. They are, if under instruction, if it is needed to take over governments who mislead Africa, if the need came, and it probably will for those who resist the improvement of Africa, we cannot have that. We cannot have traitors. However, the military should not intimidate civilians. We've got to move away from what the Europeans brought, the brutalizing of our own people by the military. The military are not to be in service of foreign governments or allow foreign governments to oversee, direct, or dictate our practical and professional training. Because that is how the enemy infiltrates, takes our skills and our plans. And this today is happening. Hence, we have zero defense for Africa because the enemy won't encourage you to have a better defense than theirs. Look at Africa right now. Look at where we are sat. It is not a secure place. It is not a secure place. Nobody's encouraged Africa to build their own stuff to do with weapons. No, because they need Africa to be what? Unweaponized with no weapons. It is an open secret that post-colonial African military what stopped and stagnated African development due to coups and counter coups upon coups from the 1960s to the early years of the 21st century. Isn't that sad? The African military in African politics took Africa's underdevelopment to a whole new and higher level of insecurity, exploitation, intimidation, stagnation, and even backwardness. It really did. Let's be honest about this. It really did. As soon as the African nationalists of the 1960s and 80s came to power, what happened? What happened? Today's military stepped in to do what? To contribute to Africa's decline into chaos and instability, putting these men into politics who were mostly interested in their own president for life opportunities with what? 1,000% regard for the very people they claimed they were to protect or fought to protect. We cannot repeat this. The African military has got to change. Freedom from colonialism should have come with what? Burdens of freedom. Freedom means a lot. It means work. It should have come with the burdens of freedom and responsibilities that come with freedom, like how to fend for ourselves, independence from our enslavers and colonizers, the responsibility to develop and educate ourselves to be mentally free, and a freedom to plan and solidify African resources for the greatest good of all Africa. This is what should have happened. And guess what? It never happened. It still has not happened. And if we are not careful, it will never happen. We will be tenants in our own continent, have nowhere to run as a people. We should have rejected all those ideas and institutions that our former colonial masters had used to accomplish their exploitation of African resources and their mentalities. Because you know what? We've kept them. And what is the general consensus? Oh, you are free, but you are not free, because the same things are still happening. In a truly free Africa, the masses of African people would have had a place they call their own. Higher standards of living, freedom from ignorance, and an educational system suitable for what? Us as a continent, us as a people, not the brainwashing we are constantly under. If this had happened, our children would have left America, the Caribbean, South America, wherever else our people are stuck in bondage. Why? Because Africa would have been seen as a home by our people globally. And just imagine in your thoughts, where would we be by now if all these things had happened years ago? I can guarantee you that most of our people would never have learned or been taught all these lies, because Africa would have reclaimed its glory and would have been a what? A living proof of its glory. The glory that our ancestors had. The glory that our ancestors once had. It is not that difficult, but we've made it so difficult. A military is needed and shall be needed for us to secure our continent and to live there and stop all the raping of our resources of the continent. And if you think this is a little bit too much, then you're not living in reality. Because you know what? The enemy has used so much brutality, different forms of weapons against us, chemical, bombs, medical warfare, brutality, you name it, to subdue you, control the continent and your own people, not only in the continent, worldwide. They don't view you the way you are trying to view them. Look around you if you think this is a little bit too much. African people worldwide need a military, but if we return home, we will have our own safety and our own military. And this is the vision that I see for our own military. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.